it's a fact that your mom cleaned houses for $35 a day. And now you're building a national brand with one mission, which is to give people like your mom a better life. You literally grew up in poverty, and then you grew to purpose. A lot of people want to focus too much on wealth, but you actually grew to purpose, and the purpose brought you wealth.
And money's never been my master, right? Never been my master. One thing that I think that makes a lot of us and really takes forward is urgency. I have a lot of urgency. I'll get it done.
Welcome to the $100 Million Mindset, the source for business owners who aspire to scale, grow, and reach their full potential. Whether you're aiming for 5 million, 10 million, or 100 million. Your hosts are Alan O'Neill, the Irish plumber, who scaled Abacus Plumbing and Cooling to over 100 million, and Topless Todd Liles, a coach to high-performing business leaders and the owner of Service Excellence, are going to help you think bigger, act smarter, and take your business to the next level.
Thanks for coming this morning. Really appreciate you, Elmer.
Thank you, Todd. Thanks for inviting me.
And you're welcome. And one of the things that I always love about, getting to hang out with you is that I never know what kind of car you're going to have. So this morning you rolled up in the Tesla Cybertruck.
Electric, baby.
Electric. Yeah, and you truly have it like a work truck. Like I think most people, when they get those things, you open them up, they're pristine clean. There's no work going on. You've got mud in the mats. You've got tools in the back. I mean, you're working out of that thing.
They goes to the ranch, makes it in, makes it through the creeks a little bit, and have fun with it.
Oh, no,
The
creeks.
tools.
You're not worried about like it catching on fire, are you?
No. A couple fenders pop off once in a while. It's got most of the fenders.
You're just not going deep.
Not too much.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, that's good to know.
It's a truck.
It's a truck. It's a truck. Well, Elmer, I'm really thankful for you being here today. And for the listeners, Elmer Zubiate is our guest. You probably know him from Elmer's in San Antonio and then in Dallas. And today, he's also got a new project going called Zuby. And we're going to talk about Elmer's life from the beginning to the end, top to bottom. Now, Elmer, I've written a little introduction here. I want to read it. Is that okay?
All right. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
All right. So, because I'm kind of proud of this one, I put some time to it, all right? All right, some people build businesses and others build movements. Today's guest is Elmer Zubiate, and he is one of those rare leaders that's actually done both. He grew up poor, and Elmer, it's a fact that your mom cleaned houses for $35 a day. And now you're building a national brand with one mission, which is to give people like your mom a better life. Now, Elmer started in the trades in high school, salvaging old AC units to help his parents. And you ended up building Elmer's in San Antonio to over $40 million. Then you opened in Dallas, and then you sold your company. You had a major liquidity event. But you're not done, right? Your next chapter is Zuby Home Maintenance and Wonderful Upgrades. And I think it could be your biggest project yet. So today, we're going to unpack that. Listener, Alan is not in studio with us. He's in Ireland. So if you're wondering where Alan's at, we tried to get him in. We couldn't make the connection work, but we're going to fly solo. Alan will be back in a month. Last thing that we're going to talk about, too, is what private equity gets wrong. And we can't talk about the success of Elmer without mentioning Roy H. Williams and how he's changed your life. So, Elmer, thank you, brother, and welcome to the show.
Thank you much, Todd. Pleased to be here.
Man, it's so exciting to see you. We've got a whole series of show notes here, and I'm going to feel free to sort of navigate through these show notes and stick to them and get away from them. And I want you to as well, because we've actually got a relatively long history. We've been in connection with each other for a long time. And, my first distinct memory of you, although I know it's not the first time we've met, was going to your original location, and you were coming out of your UFC gym. You were in there working, and you were big, jacked, muscular, dripping sweat. I'm going, oh my gosh, this guy is terrifying. And then years later, when I'm talking to Roy, Roy's like, Elmer's this big old teddy bear, wouldn't hurt a fly. And I'm like, no, I've seen him in the UFC gym. I think he could hurt a fly or two, right? Do you remember that?
I do, actually. I do remember you coming in there. And you're right. The mornings, first thing I would do is go have a little meeting real quick with the guys, talk to them, see what happened the day before. And then I'd jump right into my shorts and start boxing. My trainer would come up, and we just start doing some training there, doing some sweat and working out before. I was low on space. It was not a huge shop, but I had about 3,500 square feet that was all gym, boxing ring, bags, everything else. And it's like, we need more space. We'll figure it out. This isn't going anywhere. And I'm just going there and sweat, work it out a little bit, train, spar a little bit, and have fun.
So let's talk a little bit about life. Is fitness still a big part of what you do in life?
I like to eat, so I train to eat. I do, Todd. I work out every day, and as we know, as you know, that's only a small percentage, right, of your actually health and fitness that you're eating. The rest of it. So
That's right.
I like to eat, so I'll train just to kind of tell my mind, you're doing all right. Keep at it.
Good for you, brother. All right, let's jump into it. The first thing that I want to talk about was your early past. You literally grew up in poverty, and then you grew to purpose. A lot of people want to focus too much on wealth, but you actually grew to purpose, and the purpose brought you wealth. This is the first podcast you've ever done,
Absolutely.
but it's not the first time you've been on camera and the first time you've been recording.
Right.
Because between the things that you've done with Roy and capturing your stories, and by the way, I went and I pulled those. There's a quote, and you probably don't remember saying this, but you definitely said it, and you'll know it because it's going to feel right to your heart. You said, "Do the right thing because it's the right thing to do." My mom taught me this cleaning houses. Let's just talk about your mom a little bit today.
Mama, she was just an exceptional human being. She never got into any problems, never talked about anybody. Was just just a great example to follow. Hardworking, ethical, very caring, loving, yet very strict.
Oh, she was strict?
She was very strict. She liked the belt on us. She used the belt, and she was about 5'7" or so.
Yeah.
But she was strong. She was very strong-willed, and she had she had a purpose. She wanted to raise us right and respectful. But yeah, she worked. She cleaned homes, and she would take us during after school or whatever. She'd take us to clean homes with her as well.
hmm
And we'd see, she would go in there and do it. It was her passion. It was what she loved doing, because after she left work, she would go home and clean.
Hmm.
My aunt was like, "Oh, she's definitely sick in the head. There's something wrong with this
So
lady."
she's cleaning houses all day, but then she comes home and cleans.
Very disciplined. She loved cleanliness, and she just loved organization and cleanliness, and just taught us how to just keep working. At work, be organized, clean, 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 and clean, clean, clean. She was all about cleaning. But she would take most of the day, usually at the country club in Odessa, Texas, and a lot of her customers in the country club. She only earned $35 a day, but she took long enough. She took most of the day, even for that, because it was about doing the right thing.
Right.
Right, doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Not say, "Oh, I got my $35. You got my $35 worth. That's it. I'm gone." She would continue the task, finish what she started, and she did it with pride. Actually, she was very happy to do that.
That's awesome. Now, was your mom born here in the States, or was she born somewhere else?
Mom and Dad actually were immigrants. They came
The
from
immigrants?
Mexico.
Yeah.
They came, and Daddy swam across the river,
hmm
right? Started working everything, and then eventually, got his citizenship. Did the right thing, right? Became a citizen, and brought my mom in, and they just started having babies here, and
That's awesome.
started multiplying, and we came in, and they raised us here. So
So your mom and this discipline that she had to clean and just working hard, whether it's for someone else. What's interesting to me about that, especially business owners can relate to this statement I think I'm about to make, is that sometimes we give the work of our life to work so much that when we come home, we actually don't like have anything left to give at home. But it doesn't sound like that was your mom.
right, she was that was her passion, that was her purpose, I guess, in life. She felt like everything had to be clean around her, so it was all about that. And no, she just loved it. She just
hmm
loved it with a passion.
What did that? Was there a business lesson that you've applied from what your mom taught you about her discipline to this purpose that she had in life to organize and to clean and to make sure things were right?
The biggest purpose is on that is, I think that when we walk into somebody's business, right, or we depending on our business, by the way it's organized, clean, by the looks of it, how clean it is, we can usually tell how profitable or how strong that company is, right? It sets a culture. So cleanliness has always been part of that. And I think that does have a lot to do with how we run the operation and how other people see us.
Absolutely.
We set the tone sometimes, right, by the cleanliness of the organization. And people are like, oh, we better kind of step up our game. This is messy, which delivers, it goes into the whole houses, right? If we're clean and we push cleanliness, then it goes into the home where we have to respect that home and understand that, hey, we have to be clean and organized. We have to respect people.
So how did you guys end up in San Antonio, or did you end up in San Antonio? Because I'm thinking about Bill Whitlock, and a lot of people don't know that name, but tell people who Bill was in your life, and then I'll ask you another question about that.
In high school in Odessa, Texas.
Is it Odessa? Okay.
Yeah, it was in Odessa. There was an elective, it was the vocational class. And I wasn't very good at school ever, right? Never applied, just didn't like it. And there was an elective that afternoon. We would, there was a class, it was an air conditioning class, and afternoon, right about noon or so, right after lunch, we would come into the class, and the rest of the day, we'd go service air conditioners with an instructor. We worked on refrigerators, freezers, appliances, and all kinds of stuff at the shop. But then we would also jump in a bus, and about 12 of us in the class would go and service teachers as training.
Right.
So that's where I started. I said, man, this is pretty easy because about 12 of us would jump in a bus, right? A little small bus it was actually. And we would drive, we'd pick up some snacks at the little 7-Eleven, and then we'd go to a teacher's home, fix an air conditioner. He'd probably take 2 or 3 students.
Right.
But the rest of us just hanging out in the bus. So it was just an easy class. And somehow he actually kind of took me under his wing, said he involved me more for some reason. Just thank you, Lord. It was just my purpose. Maybe I didn't choose it, it was already destined for me. But he would invite me on some of these homes. I'd go in there. I would go in there and service it. And I just started to get a little hold of it a little bit. And then he put me in some competition, vocational high school competitions. And I started winning. I don't know that I was that good. The other ones just worse than me, But I started competing in the local district, and then I went to state, actually in San Antonio, and I won first place. The first place prize was a scholarship for a school in Houston.
Okay.
But in that time in Odessa, Mr. Whitlock, he was about, probably his 70s at the time. Just a wise man, and he had my favorite quote ever for air conditioning was, there's only 2 things that can ever be wrong with an air conditioner. Either it's doing something it's not supposed to be doing, or it's not doing something it's supposed to be doing.
I like that.
And you have to know what it's supposed to be doing and what it's not supposed to be doing.
That's good. So you had a teacher in your life. He took you under his wing, saw something in you, and you proved that there actually was something in you. I think that's pretty awesome, man. And I've got those stories. I don't want to repeat a whole bunch of them, but Dan Obey, Hogan Bramlett, all of these people in my life have literally changed me and moved me. So I appreciate that. Now, one of the stories that I really like is that not only did Bill teach you, but there was an old air conditioning system, right, that was removed. It was still working, but it was a replacement. And you asked Bill, can I tune it up? Can I get it put in shape? Can I put it in my house? And he said, yeah, and you did that. Right? So tell us that story about that system that you installed for your parents.
So my dad laid carpet, okay? He didn't make a lot of money laying carpet at the time. I think they paid him like a couple dollars a yard, and houses were small. So he made a living, right? But nothing incredible. So my dad, we used to live in a little house that he owner financed for like $20-something thousand in Odessa. He started working, and then he had those friends there. So he started building a house, a brand new house. He did most of it by trade. So he would trade the concrete guy for some carpet, the carpenter, we get family to help us, and he built a brand new home in 1978.
How about that?
Mostly on barter.
I'll be dang.
So at that point, it was pretty neat because, it was showing us how to barter, how to work, and here we are also helping ourselves. So in this house, we had cousins that do insulation. They do work at plants, refineries and stuff, and they know how to do metal. They know how to work metal. So they went ahead, my cousin set up the ductwork in the attic, but we never had central air. We had those swamp coolers out in the desert.
Yep.
And that's what we had for air conditioning. But the house was prepped already with some air ducts. So in our projects at the school, at Odessa High School, Mr. Whitlock took us in and we were going to replace an old air conditioner. I mean, this thing was old. It was already like 30 years old. It was an old, and I hate that I never took a picture of that. Now I wonder, and I want to find one just like it.
Was it one of those tombstones?
Yeah, it was one of those tombstones, and I replaced every part in it forever. Of course, we couldn't buy another. But anyway, what happened is we went and we took it out of a house. We installed a brand new one in as the class project. And I said, Mr. Whitlock, can we put this in my parents' home? Right? It was old. He goes, yeah. I said, we need some central air. He goes, yeah, let's do it. So we took the class over there the next few days, and we put it in my parents' home. So finally, we had central air. Like I said, it was old. I kept that thing going forever. I mean, it was another 17 years just going and going. I replaced every part. Back then, you could you had to solder the copper tubes. Mm-hmm. You know, take some of the fins off, solder them, fix it up, charge it again, change compressor on it, and I just kept it going forever, right? And that was awesome.
So we all know that in our business, the big money is in replacing air conditioning systems. But for you and your mom and dad, that wasn't even a financial option. So you guys had to repair them. We still want to replace air conditioning systems, obviously, when it's the right thing to do. But how did that moment change the scenario in your mind? Or I guess what I'm really trying to get to here is that I don't want to put words in your mouth because maybe this isn't the case. I'll let you say for yourself. But if it were me and that was my experience, I would feel like making an air conditioning system last as long as it could when that was the only affordable option for a homeowner would be something that would be important to me. Not replacing it when it's good and affordable and saves them more money in the long run, but when the real true only option is we got to take an old system and make it work. That would have an impact on the way that I would do business compared to what everybody else is teaching. Oh, it's 5 years old. Get them to finance it just because you can. So I don't want to put words in your mouth, and I kind of am assuming things. I'm just going to ask you, how did that affect your outlook on things like repair versus replace?
Well, I think it's hard for us as air conditioner service companies to not get blinded or like, oh my God, such and such is growing so fast, and just look at those numbers. What are they doing? Everything else, and it's hard sometimes to say, wait a minute. But we know sometimes it takes pushing the envelope a little bit too much, right, to be able to do that. So we step back and we have to be very conscious of the actual homeowner and do what's right for them at that house. We know, a system could possibly, if installed right, be more efficient, save them on utilities. But you're right, there's times it's not an option. Not only do they not have cash, they don't have credit either at that time. I mean, we've all been in situations where we have to keep that thing going for a bit or not have air conditioning or whatever it is. So we have to be conscious of that and do what's right for that homeowner at that time, not just for the company. Because it's like the seed time and harvest, right? We have to understand that if we fix that unit, they'll remember that when they needed us, we were there. Yes, we always give them options, but don't skip the basic option always. Don't skip the basic. I can get it going for you because we know for a fact most air conditioners, stuff, any work that we do, we can get that thing going.
Right.
We know that. Unfortunately, we start pushing more towards a replacement because we make it about the money. And money's never been my master, right? Never been my master. And we've always, and keeping people accountable to that, technicians like, hey, you lie, you steal, you cheat, you're not going to be with us anymore.
Right.
But we also know we have to stay consistent on that. We have to always remind them in the meetings, try to sell somebody something they don't need, man, we're going to have problems. And then you have to actually act on it when the top salesperson is doing that. Mm-hmm. I remember one time I had to de-hire a gentleman. He was a top salesman. This gentleman sold nothing but 2-speed, variable speed, absolute top of the line. So his mission was his numbers and selling that. But we know there's homeowners, right, that you shouldn't sell them a $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 air conditioner. It just doesn't make sense. They can't afford it. But he pushed his agenda, his thing. I had to let him go because as a company, it's like you always give people the options, right? And then with them, you design that system that's best for them and their budget and their family, right? Their home. But he pushed what he wanted to.
Right.
It was like, but this guy's putting on these numbers, selling several millions himself. Yeah, but he's doing the wrong thing.
Right.
There's people who do need a $10,000, $12,000 air conditioner. And that's all they should have in their home. We can't push them because that is another form of theft to me. That's just not very honest for us to push our agenda on that homeowner.
You know, it's I'm in the world of sales training, and I've been doing this for a long time, but I've got this really interesting dichotomy where I want the highest performance out of people. But growing up in this world, there were things that were said to me to say to people in sales training. I said, I'm not going to do that the way you want me to do that. And one of the things that they love to teach, like, hey, if you want to have a great salesperson, you got to make them desperate for money. So convince them to go get all the new cars, convince them to get a house that they can't afford, convince them to get so deep into debt, their only way that they're going to make it is that they got to sell, 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 sell. And I'm sitting here going, yeah, that'll definitely motivate them. But that motivation comes at a high, high, high cost. I personally understand the motivation of it, but I think it's a terrible idea. Why convince your people to get into debts that they're not capable of affording, capable of handling? You're going to make them desperate. And good people, when they're desperate, will do bad things.
I don't like that our industries or stuff like that, we create these guys because we take a person, I've been guilty myself, taking a person from being a duct installer, he has potential, we train him, develop him, give him a great living, and then greed takes over. Now you ruin this person because all they want to do is sell new units now. And when it is about the money and they made money their master, you can never contain these guys. Now
Right.
they have to leave, or ladies, right? They have to leave to find to another company because you're not giving them enough. And I think we create this greed by pushing that too much. So our philosophy was more like, listen, you do the right thing by offering options, and you have to check and make sure, are they really offering the
There you go.
options? You have to hold them accountable to the options, not just that top option trying to sell them something. We want the customer, and then follow up with the phone call as well, the call by call follow up. Hey, were you offered all the options? I don't care if you bought a system. I don't care that you buy a system because seed time and harvest, we have to plant those seeds. And then it just comes, true story. I had a friend of mine. He was from Boston. He was an Italian guy. He was
Hey, tell me about it.
yeah, this guy, he's from Boston, and he had a plumbing company. Well, first of all, he relocated to San Antonio. He was in the witness protection plan. He was in the mob over there. I mean, you know how that goes, right? What kind of person he is. He gets like $150,000 from the government to relocate after his court and stuff. He starts a plumbing company. This guy was the biggest crook con artist you'll ever know. He was good though, very persuasive. Just an amazingly crooked guy, right?
It tends to go hand in hand. Is what my observation is that people with a criminal background. By the way, people with criminal backgrounds can be reformed. Let me
Sure,
say that.
absolutely.
And if they get reformed and they get their ethics in line and they still maintain good persuasion, oh my gosh. But a lot of people with criminal backgrounds can be reformed, and boy, look out. They're going to make a lot of money. They're going to do a lot of sales, but what are they going to do along the way in damage? So keep going.
His company at the time, he was doing about 1.8 million in sales. He was very profitable because he wouldn't deliver. He charged for a certain amount, right? And then he wouldn't do what he'd do a lot less and just collect the money.
Well,
Very profitable. But I knew him, and I kept him. Say, that's your friend? Yeah, but I never trusted him. I never referred him. I never did any work with him. It was just a fun because he was just a very outgoing, funny guy. Tells stories of his days and stuff, right? And we just have a good time. But one time we're sitting there at his company. I was at the time doing probably 15 million, 18 million at the time, and we're sitting down. He goes, Elmer, listen. He was all said, I just can't find people. These effers. He goes, always, every word was an F word, right? They want to be honest. And Elmer, that you can't be honest to people and actually make that. I said, no, you're wrong. I said, that's where you're wrong. I said, our company, if somebody's lying or stealing, they're not going to be with us anymore. I said, and then you create a culture. I said, these guys that you're pushing to rip off the customer stuff, they're also stealing from you. You have no loyalty, you have no growth. Your company's being hindered by that. But his mindset was, you have to lie, steal, and sell things people don't need to grow. And I'm like, no, look at the opposite. We're growing, not doing that.
right.
Because you set that culture where we know people are smart. We know people will always do the right thing, and they feel. Right? They feel if you're trying to lie to them, or a lot of them do.
I think most people feel it instinctively. It's just, do they listen to it?
Right. And when they're in the moment, right, we take advantage of the moment sometimes to force them on something, right? So I said, no, you actually don't have to. And I try to teach them how to do it. You have to give options, and the people will make the right move.
Right.
And then later on, a repair, I just call it a down payment on a system later, if we do our job
That's right.
and maintain them. So a repair is just as good as a replacement.
I agree. Because the name of the game is just be there when it's time to harvest.
Mhm.
And I think there's a lot of discussion. I know for a fact that there are people that are going to listen to this and be like, man, Elmer and Todd are teaching the truth. And I know there's other people that are going to go, these guys are silly.
Losers.
They're losers. They don't really understand business. They don't really understand conversion. From my thought process is that most people that are going to have successful businesses are not going to be in big markets. They're not going to be in million plus populations. Most of the listeners here, most of the air conditioning contractors, they're in 50, 75, 100,000 marketplaces. You can't get away with that behavior in a 50,000 population marketplace like you can with that behavior in Los Angeles. It will catch up to you in a hurry. They will tell their friends. They will know that you're ripping them off. Let's move on now. Let's talk a little bit about the period of time when you started getting into business, building Elmer's, because you did build Elmer's to 40 plus million. San Antonio, you're on the Spurs television network. You're everywhere, right? Then you moved to Dallas. You end up having a liquidity event. All that was amazing.
Then we did Houston too.
You did Houston too. I forgot about that. But before all that, you actually suffered a big bankruptcy. And now for those people that are going, see, there we go. We knew they weren't that smart and sophisticated. They're confusing, people that do the right things with people that are educated on how to operate a business. Because you can do the right thing and not be educated and make a mistake. You can do the wrong things and be educated, take advantage of folks. Now, I want to just go back and tell us about that first bankruptcy. How did it occur? What happened? And why did you keep going? Because I think for a lot of people, they would have quit. So unpack that for us.
So we weren't smart and sophisticated, but we're not smart and sophisticated now either, right? So back in the day, right, when I first started, obviously we have no business background at all, zero. We don't have any mentors. We don't have anybody, our family, nobody's had a business. Our generations, our cousins, our aunts, really nobody's had a real business that they can get coached by. We don't have any friends, network, or anything. I was earning $13 an hour in Odessa, Texas. I was pretty much maxed out. I was a pretty good service technician. And my brother just decided in 1995, said, hey, Elmer, he goes, let's move to San Antonio. I said, all right, I got nothing, anything's a step forward. So we moved to San Antonio and started working for some companies in San Antonio. I did not like what was going on. And even in San Antonio, I was making $13 an hour. I guess I wasn't that good somehow. They didn't see a lot of value in me. Or maybe God had a little plan, said, I'm not going to pay you too much. This was in 95 when I moved over here.
Okay.
I started working here. I moved to San Antonio at $9 an hour, right? I was like, crap, I went backwards. Like, I thought it was going to have a better future. It's a bigger city. Regardless, I went through, worked for a few companies and maxed out. And all of a sudden, I'm just thinking like, okay, if I start getting the idea of going on my own or doing something on my own. If I can make $50,000, I would be so happy.
Yeah.
Right. And I could see the invoices were selling the units for a lot of money now. And it's like, if I can only make $50,000 a year, I said, it's an upgrade. I will be so happy. And so what I started doing, Todd, is I was working and every paycheck, when I got it in my mind, I would go to Sam's. I would buy like beans, rice, paper, toothbrush, everything, because I was planning, right? Survival for how long, I don't know. So every paycheck I would go and I would buy some supplies that I needed just in case I anticipate I was going to have cash flow when I left my job, right? So at the time
Like
when
literal dry goods.
Huh?
You were buying literal dry goods.
Yeah.
Rice, beans, things that would last.
Yeah, toothpaste, hair products, soap, hair products. A lot of hair. But I started prepping, right, for the time that I wasn't going to have any money or a paycheck. I also, before that, had owner finance a property. I built a shop. It was a 20 by 30 metal shop, and I built an apartment inside of it.
On $13 an
Yeah.
hour.
Yeah. And so I just started prepping, and when it was time, I was sitting at church. I just felt every time up there in the pew, I just kept push, do it. Like, I don't have any money. I don't know. Just do it. Just do it. All of a sudden, I just decided to do it. I had a truck and I had $1,500. I started working, started knocking on doors, getting referrals, talking to people, and just started making a living. I was like, oh crap, man, that's pretty cool, right? And it just kept growing and growing, and all of a sudden, I start growing. I start adding some people, right? It's like, oh man, this makes sense. This is good. I I start calling. I get somebody on the phone. We start calling customers, start calling the other customers for maintenance, and we just start doing the basics that we know to do in business. Next thing you know, the Yellow Pages starts knocking on my door,
Yeah.
right? Say, hey, you want to grow like the big guys? Yeah, I do. All right, what you need to do is this. Remember the old double trucks. If you want to get like the big company, they have these. They used to call them the double trucks, right? The 2 pages in the phone book.
Right.
I can't afford it. I think the very first one I got 1 page, right? As soon as I could, I got 2 pages. And now I'm just signing contracts. And without any experience, you think that's what you need. And if it works for them, it's going to work for you. What do you know about structure? What do you know about the years they've been in business, the cash flow that they have, right? So you start getting some calls, you start building some momentum. I start looking at the contractors that are making big things happen, right? Big moves. And I start finding out, what are you doing? Well, good friend of mine, and maybe I'll mention his name. He had nothing to do with this, but Brett Hobson.
Yeah.
He opens the doors up in Weatherford, opens his doors, help me any way that I can. He goes, come on, visit me. I'll show you exactly what I do. Sounds good. I go to his place. He had this amazing print shop. He had a whole machine there for printing. I don't know if you ever saw that.
Oh, yeah, I know Brett's story well. I think he got the print shop idea from Ken Goodrich, if I remember right.
Ken.
Or maybe
Ken.
Ken got it from Brett, but they were both doing it one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ken's another story, right? He's helped me out as well. But he shows me exactly what he's doing. He gives me the mail piece. He tells me how to execute and everything. I go back to San Antonio, set up a print shop. I'm getting loans. I'm trying to figure this out. I start get a printer. We start printing some sheets. I start folding them, putting stamps, sending them out. Well, we start growing. We start moving boxes. I'm following the Brett model. Well, we start moving some boxes. We start doing some sales. For example, the sales guys they're closing them, but they're throwing all kinds of stuff in to close them. So now we're not making any money. I'm not watching margins. I don't know accounting. I have no accounting system. So all of a sudden, we're moving a whole bunch of boxes, making things happen. And I'm like, oh man, this is good. This is wonderful. At the time, I was doing about $750,000 in business. I was a high roller now. Right? I'm doing big things. 750 for me was like, oh my God, I'm rich, right? I'm a millionaire. Well, all of a sudden, I'm out of money. I can't pay bills. What's going on? We're moving all these boxes. I forgot about accounting. I didn't know the importance of accounting. So Brett assumed, okay, well, you want to grow now. I'm sure you have some accounting, right? He didn't start with, Elmer, let's get your books right. I love Brett. He's always been there for me, right? And we didn't talk about accounting. And I just said, I want to learn how to, how you sell and stuff. And he helped me out a lot on that. And I went down because I wasn't watching my numbers. I had no idea how to have good accounting.
So you suffered from just not even knowing. You would have done it if you'd known. You just didn't know.
That's not my forte. Maybe I would have, maybe I wouldn't have paid attention because I'm always like, just go, move. So one thing that I think that makes a lot of us and really takes forward is urgency. I have a lot of urgency. I'll get it done.
Gotcha. But you need a business type mind person in the background assisting.
Have to team. Got to have a team, right?
Yeah.
Can't be all things to all people.
And our friend Jeffrey Eisenberg rode over, and I wasn't sure if he was coming. I think that I talked to him about it once, and I'm surprised that he's in the lobby somewhere. He is that man for you on Zuby, and Jeffrey works with us in the background on some of the things that we do as well. He's super sharp. Maybe we'll find a way to get him in here at some point in time.
That'd be good.
So you basically got into trouble because you weren't doing accounting. You didn't have people that were there to do that for you. And your high energy motivation momentum is in growing people, growing a company, getting things sold. And then later you find out it's like, oh, there's some other things that we need to be doing. All right. So it escalated into a bankruptcy.
So I lost control, right? I lost total control. We were just moving boxes, and I lost control. Well, before that, I had actually met Ken Goodrich. I met Ken Goodrich, gosh, 2000 back in airtime. I mean, 2000-ish or so. And this was about 2005 when I started taking off. And Ken told me, he said, "You're going to be a millionaire one day." He believed in me back then. I'm like, easy for you to say, right? I couldn't imagine it. But he says, "You're going to be a millionaire one day." And so at that time, I called Ken. I said, "Ken, they're coming down on me." I tried to put it off. I tried to where he goes, "It's okay. It's happened to everybody. Don't worry about it." He goes, "Call him and tell him you're going to start negotiating with them. You're going to pay him back, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." He goes, "If you want, I'll help you." I said, "I think I can do it." So I start calling my creditors and start calling the suppliers and stuff. And a lot of them work with me in that time, right? I'm like, crap, I don't want to file bankruptcy. So I start working with them. There was only two that wouldn't do it. It was Southwest Yellow Pages, right? The Yellow Page, the Yellow Book, they're like, "Nah, not really." And another manufacturer. They're the only ones that did not want to work with me. And I fought it. Finally, my attorney's like, "You don't have a choice. They're fixing to levy your accounts. You're not going to be able to operate anyway. You have to file."
Yeah.
And I put it off, and finally he goes, you just don't have a choice anymore." I said, "We'll do it. That's fine." So, it was a time when they repoed all my trucks. I was in the street. I went through a divorce at the time. And I was living in the street. I was sleeping in a little shop. And, but like I said, they wouldn't work with me. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? Start up again. I had some momentum going right. I opened up again. I opened up a company again, and there was a guy, his name was Jose Mendoza. He was going into banking, and he had a little air conditioning company. He was going to close it down because he wasn't making any money. He had an old Chevrolet van that he was going to sell. And I asked him it was $2,000. I asked him to sell it to me in payments. And Jose did. He sold it to me in payments, and I started working again. Right, I had my tools, so I started working again after they just repoed all my trucks. I probably had 7 trucks at the time. I thought I was a baller already at 750,000, right? So yeah, 7 trucks, 750,000 is like makes no sense, right? But just kept. He helped me out, and then I started working again. Started running calls again. Started calling some of the customers, offering them a service, and sure enough, I took off again. Then shortly after that, my brother, he's working in the refineries doing installation and stuff in Houston. Actually, he's working for the union, and he got him a brand new truck. It was a $400 payment. 2007, after the bankruptcy and stuff, 2007, he buys a brand new truck. Well, this truck gets hail damage. Hail comes down, just beats the truck up. I said, "Hey, Oscar, your truck there?" Yeah, he goes, "Do me a favor." I said, "I'll take over payments on it. You don't want this truck. It's hail damaged. Take the $8,000 they're going to give you, put it on a new truck, and let me take over payments on this one." He goes, I said, "It's going to be all beat up anyway. It's not going to be the same anymore." He goes, "That's fine." So now I have a brand new truck. Hail damage, but I have a brand new truck.
Who cares, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was, then the rest is history. We just took off and we started buying vehicles and started taking off again. And here I go again. Next thing I know is we're starting to recover. I at that point, like a year and a half later, I ended up calling for rental homes on the Thrifty Nickel, I guess it was at the time, and found a guy that had a house for rent. Went inside. I said, "Hey, listen, do you mind, would you sell it to me, owner Kerry?" He looks at me, he goes, "You know what? Yeah, I'll probably sell it to you. I'll probably consider that." It was a $80,000 home, and he sold it to me for $110,000. I was like, okay, versus paying $600 of rent, right? Because I had got a little apartment at that time. He goes, "Yeah, I'd probably do that." I said, I don't have any money for down payment. Can I give you the down payment in payments too? He goes, "Yeah, you know what? I will." Thank you, God. And we set up payments. So he gave me the down payment in payments. And so I was able to, I overpaid $20,000, $30,000 on that house, but I started fixing it up a little bit, right? On this overpriced home. And it was just ask. And it came together. So I started working out of that garage in that house. And I'm like, all right, things are going good. At that time, I'm expecting the Goodman rep Goodwin reps coming in. His name is Daryl. He comes in and they give him all the crappy accounts. I mean, just the bottom of the barrel because he came in to prove himself.
Yeah.
From
So they give him your account.
yeah, they gave him the crappiest accounts, and he's I'm expecting him at my house, and I get a knock on the door. I said, all right, cool. It's Daryl. It's Johnstone. They're coming in, and they're gonna do because I was expecting them. I open the door. Two very nice gentlemen. How you doing? I say, come on, have a seat. My sofa, right? He goes, hey, we're enforcement officers with the IRS.
Okay,
you have a right to an attorney. And I was
no.
like, oh my God, man. So I sit him in the sofa. We start. He goes, listen, you owe 941 taxes, right? It was a few $100,000 in 941 taxes that I owed, and
941,000 in taxes.
No. It was 941's the taxes, but it was a couple $100,000 that I owed on that.
I got you.
I don't remember how much it was. $200,000-300,000 that I owed on 941's.
And how much actual cash did you have to your name?
Oh no, I was broke. I was nothing. I didn't have anything.
Yeah,
I was
$200
just
enough to make these payments, maybe.
Just to make them. Yeah, I had no cash flow yet. We were just living, and he ends up. They both come in. They talk to me, and they tell me, "Okay, what's going on here?" I said, "I bought this truck," and I told him what I just told you earlier. I bought this truck in payments, this and that and the other, and this is all I have. I bought this house on owner finance. Here's a contract. I'm paying the down payment in payments, stuff like that. And they just started evaluating everything. So, okay, we'll get back with you. He got back with me later and goes, oh, that day he goes, everything you told us we already knew. Thank you for being honest with us. He goes, and we'll get back with you. So I met at their office. He goes, we're going to work with you because you were being truthful. So they don't crack down on me, right? They said, okay, they're going to work with me. And then I just started rebuilding from there. I started getting better accounting. Still not good accounting, but better accounting. Keeping up with the numbers and just started working from there.
Cool, man. Wow. And look, we could probably hang out on that for a long time, but I got so many topics. I want to keep this train rolling. Let's jump forward a little bit. Elmer's is going. It is definitely not the $40 million beast. I just started Service Excellence, young, chubby, baby-faced guy. And AG's, I think, had mentioned you to me and father and son team. And they're like, hey, let me introduce you to Elmer. And we went over there, and I don't know what I did, but I heard through the grapevine, I really made you mad. Let's clear that up because I still don't know what I did. And I know it hasn't mattered to the point that we can't sit here and talk to each other, but I want to know what I did so that I can apologize and just get that out. Because I literally to this day, I'm like, I was cocky, man. You got to understand. I was coming.
You were.
I was real cocky. So maybe I was just being a jerk, but put it out here. Tell me what I did.
Todd, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I do remember that the incident that I just didn't like you. I said, I just don't like him because you were cocky, right? Or at least you acted like you were a cock, whatever, which now I know you're not. Now I know you're a real nice guy and we, just we're friends and everything. But at the same time, I said, you rubbed me wrong. And you were kind of with another company. You were helping another company. And I guess you just didn't like me. You just didn't see potential in me, I guess. I don't know. And that's probably what it was because we were nothing at the time, right? We were just trying to get going. But I felt like you didn't see the potential or like I feel you chose a better contractor to work with. And that's why I didn't like you.
Oh, you know what? This is sort of ringing a bell now. First of all, I was definitely cocky. What's interesting is the more you know, the more you realize you don't know shit.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm 46 years old and today, and this guy is much more wealthy than that guy, much more humble, knows a lot more, and feels like I don't know. That guy 15, 13 years ago would have told you that this guy today is a dummy, right? Because of experience and learning. But I think I do kind of remember a little bit. I might have my stories crossed slightly, but at the time, I think I was only going to work with one company per city because in my brain, I'm like, this is what you do. I ended up making you mad. The other person that I made mad was Monica, who owned Village Plumbing, because I was actually working with Alan. And the reason why I had that sort of agreement, like Alan was one of the guys that was early on, like, hey, I'll give you an opportunity. And I kept turning away all these people from Houston because I was working with Alan. And I'm like, Alan, and I've talked about this on the show. I'm like, this is not good for me. Houston is massive. I'm not going to harm Abacus if I train other people. So you were part of that before it happened. And yeah, and I can totally see how it looked like, well, you were choosing one company over me. And I guess I was, but it was only because in my brain, I couldn't imagine that I could work with multiple companies in a city because I came out of the clockwork thing and that was sort of like limitations. But thanks for forgiving me, man. I appreciate that. Thanks for the forgiveness.
And to add to it, it was
Oh, no,
actually
it gets
a
worse.
company that we've never been able to get along. One of that we always consider a rivalry. We
Oh,
never ever were able to get along. We never liked each other or whatever, and that's who you chose. But and I was like, all right, Todd,
I picked the.
don't talk to me again.
All right, well, good. Now that I know, all right, well, and now you can hold that against me forever.
That's done.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about call by call. You guys at Elmer's do a great job with this. You're a real mastery of it. And what I've come to realize is that there's actually multiple call by call systems. And I've not heard anyone but us sort of put these into three categories. I'm going to tell you what I've realized are the three categories. And you guys operate one really, really well. In fact, you were really gracious. You let my friends from Australia come out and you sort of demonstrate, like, here's how you do things. Here's how I see call by call. I see one level of call by call, which is actually about quality, which is you have a call by call manager that's in essence a service manager. And his or her primary job is to make sure that these young technicians are implementing service technically and from a professional service standpoint the way it should be done. Then there is another type of call by call that these techs might graduate into, which is like now, okay, like I'm going to call this one a revenue booster, where these call by call managers are now there and they don't have to have these deep conversations about how to technically do things, how to basically run service calls. And now they can be more of an advisor or coach in the pocket, talking about, well, how you build out options, how you convert closes, how to handle objections. And then there is a third level. And the third level, and level doesn't mean better, it just means another one, which I refer to as just pure sales call by call, where some companies implement this where basically there isn't even a salesperson in the field anymore. It's all done by a call by call manager. Now, if I understand what I witnessed from you guys, well, you guys kind of operate in 2 and 3, where your bigger focus is revenue maximizer. You're there to assist, but when needed, you do have people that could also convert over the phone. So you guys do a really good job of that, and we could probably have an entire episode just on call by call. I guess my real question to you is, what was it that got you guys to embrace that approach, and why do you think it works so well for you guys? Because it works well for y'all.
I have a friend right in the industry, and I make fun of him, and we play around, and we just make fun of each other constantly, like every day through memes and through everything. And even now, we've had a couple rough little areas in town, but we've had a couple little areas when he came in and did some work in San Antonio. And anyway, it's a long story. That's another story by itself. But we've been friends for a lot of years, and to everybody else, he's very legit professional, just a very serious entrepreneur. His name is Mr. Goodrich, right? Everybody knows him, Mr. Goodrich. To me, he's just Ken. But I call him Mr. Goodrich because he deserves that honor.
Sure.
But he knows I'm saying, shut up, Ken. But Mr. Goodrich had a lot to do with it.
Okay.
He's always been there for me when I need something like, hey, Ken, what about this? Or he'll just call me and get on my case a little bit, when we were in those times. Hey, listen. And he calls me all kinds of names as well, right? Not very nice sometimes, and we just laugh together. But he goes, you need to be doing this. And he coached me, showed me some things, and he doesn't have necessarily the time to show exactly how to do it. So we had to kind of develop it, take his principles and the way he's doing it and what he taught us, and then just improve it. Or since we don't have the full system, we have to take the concept and idea and just see what makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? What is the mission? What are you trying to accomplish with that call-by-call manager? Right? And that's the customer experience. Making sure that they got all their options. Making sure that the salesperson is not trying to sell his
Yeah.
interest on it. So that's really what it is, and making sure that that customer did receive that kind of respect on the call. Does that
And
make sense?
it makes a lot of sense. And again, because I'm observing, right? I'm watching lots of people doing it lots of different ways. And the reason why we put them into those three categories, a sales system, call by call, revenue maximizer, and a quality control system. I had to do that because one of the things that I was observing is when people would say, "Hey, do you do call by call?" The answer is sure, we can teach that, but that's not the real question. The real question is what type of call by call system do you teach and what type of call by call system do I need? Because from my observation, like I think you guys really do primarily default to revenue maximizer.
Mhm.
And I think Ken's default, from my understanding and from what I understand, is more sales. Like
Hmm.
they basically are selling it over the phone, period. You know, they
Correct.
got great guys like Dale Still that can do 10, 15 million, where you guys aren't opposed to that, but you're really trying to make it happen in the field. Just, so I appreciate that. But the thing that I really would like that plane to land on is, and I get it, right? There's only so much help that a person can give until maybe they're giving away IP, and he's not going to do that. You're not going to do that. So you can still do that. You can generously help people without giving away everything when you don't have a vested interest and there's conflicts there. So that makes sense. But when the guys from Australia came, you did the same thing. You protected your IP, but yet you guys still took the time to assemble a conversation with us where it wouldn't violate any of your agreements, but you gave enough highlights that we were able to walk away and go, man, that was really amazing. You gave us a tour, you showed us what's going on. It was beautiful. So do you give generously because others have given generously to you? Is that where that comes from?
I think it's the right thing to do, right? Yes, a lot of people have helped me along the way, and no, I'm not self-made. All the people around me made me, right? The Roy Williams, right? Ken's helped me a lot, and a lot of other people. Brett, everybody has had a seat in my life, so I can't claim that I did this, right? Or I was able to grow to a good level. So we just got to give it back. There's no secrets, like Ecclesiastes says, right? There's nothing new under the sun.
Mm,
All we're doing is taking and sometimes it doesn't make sense to copy exactly somebody else's system because it's a totally different company, right? So every system, everything we learn, we have to customize it, spend the time customizing it to our company, right? So I will allow whoever wants to go in there and we it's here it is. It's an open book. Another thing is that sometimes it's not the lack of systems or whatever, it's lack of urgency sometimes or things like that, right? We got to show up and we have to have urgency. And then we have to focus on what is our mission. What are we trying to accomplish in that company? And each company actually has a little bit different plan. Like you said, some are more sales, some are more revenue, some are more customer experience. And we just kind of have to take a little hybrid, kind of put it together and say, who am I as a company? I'm not like that company.
right.
They're very successful, but I'm not that way. I have to customize a system and look at mine. And then you go out there and you add, make it better. I would hope you'd make it better than me, right? Than our system.
That's really wonderful. Speaking of systems, you said you're not a systems guy by nature. How do you know who to put around you to make the systems work?
Allow some people to goof it up and then let whoever's going to position themselves right. So you don't know. You can take, again, I go back to the same thing. A person who was successful at another company and did a system doesn't necessarily mean they could come plug it into yours, right? Because every company, I believe, has its own personality. And yeah, you could take the basics, the fundamentals, and then develop them there. So it's just hit and miss sometimes. You take as much, even though they're running a company much bigger than yours and very successful, you plug them in. You still have to tweak it, change it, or maybe that person doesn't work out.
Hmm.
It just doesn't, it's not the right culture for them. Good people. It's just not the culture for them. So it's just trial and error.
Yeah.
And trying to decide, helping that person, okay, I have this information, I can do this. Well, let's help them develop it. Either we can get somewhere or we can't. So does that make sense? I mean, it's just a matter of customizing it.
It does. Thank you. So listen, you've been listening to what I didn't know was going to be a two-parter. Elmer came into the studio. Most of the time, people come on over the internet, and he came in the studio, and we started connecting, and the stories were rich and deep. There are still things that I want to talk to Elmer about I want to talk to him about the power of belief and why he did work for Roy for free and Roy did work for free for him for so many years. I want to talk about his experience from exiting Elmer's and what he learned through that, specifically what the relationships with private equity, the liquidity event. We'll talk money. I know you're interested in that. And then I want to get into the Zuby mission, what they're doing today. So here's the thing. We're going to push pause on the recording for now. And when you come back for part 2, it's going to be on another day, but it'll be in studio. For you, it'll just be another week. For us, it'll be another day. So you can magically listen to both back to back, or you can listen to one week and one the next. But we're going to jump in deep into the continuation of this conversation with Elmer Zubiate.
Hey, thanks so much for watching the show this week. Head over to toddliles.com/mindset to get the show notes. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you never miss a new episode of the show. And if you enjoyed this episode, then share it. It really helps us get the word out. You've been watching the $100 Million Mindset with Alan O'Neill and Topless Todd Liles.